Welcome to the March regular meeting of the Board of Education for the Lake Mills Area School District. The mission statement for the district is preparing all of today's students for tomorrow's opportunities. So can we have a verification of the meeting notice, please?
Yes, it was posted on the LMASD website and at the Lake Mills Post Office and submitted to the Lake Mills Leader.
Thank you. So I'll call the meeting to order, and I would ask you to stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May we have a roll call of the board, please?
Brianna Beslick.
Here.
Dawn Delaney.
Here.
Ken Eimers.
Here.
Amy Litcher.
Here.
Robert D'Imperio.
Here. So we do have a quorum. Ask now for approval of the agenda.
I'll move the board approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions on the motion? Hearing none, a voice vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The agenda is adopted. First item on the agenda is our administrative reports. So, Dr. Olson.
You are in for a treat tonight. I have 14 leaders here from the elementary school. So I'm going to start by introducing Mrs. Seachlog, who's going to introduce the rest of the group.
Hi, and welcome everyone. Today, Mrs. Rosenwald is here with Care Squad, an amazing group of kids at the elementary school who do a variety of tasks that they're going to tell you about. And it was one of the most shining moments that when I discovered them at the elementary school, and she's like, yeah, this is what we do. They're just such a great group of kids who are all about welcoming people into school and helping people out during the day, and they're in different places, and they always just jump at a chance to help, and that's what I really like about the Care Squad. So they have an entire presentation that they have been practicing. It's going to be amazing, and so I'm going to turn it over to our first two speakers. You guys ready?
Care Squad stands for Community and Relationship Energizers. Care Squad is a group that consists of 35 fourth grade leaders. We meet once or twice a month, and we have many jobs throughout the building. Our goal is to try to bring everyone in contact with at least one Care Squad member daily, with 35 students doing 15 different jobs spread throughout the day. We also try to grow our school culture by trying to get more kids to want to do it and continue it on. Care Squad brings a lift off of the teachers and supervisors. It makes the kids feel like they want to be in Care Squad and they have a Care Squad member to play with them. Here are some of our jobs and some of the cool kids who do them. Care Squad has these jobs, afternoon greeters and morning. We have seen a lot of different emotions walking through our doors. Sad, mad, even hurt. It makes every Care Squad heart hurt to see kids feeling that way. So when we are there to help, it feels amazing. I personally love greeting kids and wishing them a good day. It makes me feel better about myself, and it hopefully makes the kids have a better day.
An overlook of line supervision is where two Care Squad members supervise grades through first and second. The kids trust us and look up to us. We care about their safety, and we give reminders to keep their hands and feet to self. Their safety is important, and that's what leads to a better tomorrow.
There are many jobs that support our office staff. For example, our office runners help deliver items to teachers and students. These items include messages, boxes, or materials students may have left at home.
Another job that supports our office staff is the ice pack fillers. These students fill up the Ziploc bags with ice to make ice packs twice a week, so we always have them ready for when kids get hurt. Here's simple things like this that make a huge difference.
For recess support, you go outside and play games with the kids. We're always using positive language, having fun with the kids, and helping them. It not only makes the kids happy, but it makes Care Squad happy too. From grades 3K to 2nd grade, we make a day, we spread kindness, and we're there to care.
Care Squad impacts kindergartners by giving them a role model, a friend, and a supporter. Care Squad helps them get a new perspective on how to act around others. Sometimes kids go through hard times and they feel alone, and Care Squad will help support them through the hard times, whether their parents are going through a divorce, or their siblings aren't being nice, or they are dealing with a loss. We will guide them through the hard times. We also help the lunch ladies by passing out milk, and this helps speed up the lunch line. This means the kindergartners can have more time to eat their lunch.
Sometimes in the mornings, we will play Simon Says with the kindergartners. We talk to them, and when they're sad, we ask them what happened, and if they're okay with it, we talk about it and try to make them feel better. From time to time, there's a small problem, like kids hitting each other and not wanting to get into line. But we try to fix the problem with a solution. We try not to raise our voices at them, unless if we have to. But if we have to, we just raise them a little bit. We help them in the library when they have questions and when they need help finding books. We also help our librarian because it's probably really hard to find books for everybody because there's about 20 children in each class and only 30 minutes of library for each class in the school when they have library. There's also over 3 classes that have library each day. I like this Care Squad job because you get to make the kids feel accepted.
Care Squad is important to our school community, and we make it a safe place for the kids to learn, and we encourage them to do their best, and we make the kids feel welcome and accepted.
We take less stress off of teachers so that they can go to the restroom or grab something from the printer, so Care Squad is there to supervise their kids.
We inspire them to do their best and to work hard and to be their best selves, and with being their best selves is spreading kindness and being helpful.
We're making good memories with the kids of playing with them at recess and making them friends, introducing one kid to another.
We put a lot of thought and effort to make the school a better place, to make it a safe place to learn, and to take less stress off of teachers.
Care Squad makes an impact on our school.
Good evening. My name is Dana Rosenwald, and I have been running Care Squad for the last 5 years. I use the word running instead of leading because it's truly the kids who are the leaders here. Yes, I assign the jobs and I run the meetings, but without their courage and determination, none of this would come to fruition. So now I get to brag about them. These brave kiddos just stood up here and explained some of the jobs that they do around our school. You can see that each one of these students are extremely proud of themselves. But what you don't see tonight is the impact that they've made on all the other students in the building. The only way I can think of describing this impact is by referencing a small section of the book, The Trauma-Informed School, by Jim Sporlder and Heather T. Forbes. Chapter 10 talks about creating a relationship-based culture in schools. In the beginning of this chapter, it states, "The science of happiness is a growing field, and it is showing that those that are happier are better able to self-regulate, and they have lower levels of the stress hormone cortisol. Both of these are foundational principles to creating a successful trauma-informed school. Additionally, environments that support the happiness and well-being of individuals are intrinsically emotionally safe and calming. The ultimate goal of any school should be to create a place worth of being for its own sake, academics aside. It should be a place where students want to be, even if they weren't mandated to be there. It later goes on to say, great school cultures are built. They don't just come into being by accident. It takes demonstrating genuine interest and concern for each student of the school to foster a culture of family and connection. This is exactly what our Care Squad does. They demonstrate genuine interest and concern for each and every person they come in contact with. They sacrifice their own time for meetings, jobs, and other tasks on a daily basis, and they have truly created a culture of family and connection in our school. And they're doing all of this as 9 and 10-year-olds. Next time you're in our building, keep an eye out for the 35 happy, dedicated, and impactful members of our Care Squad, including these kiddos here. There are some very bright leaders in this room tonight, and their impact on others has only just begun. So please help me in giving them a well-deserved round of applause. Thank you.
Wow. You young people are really amazing. I'm glad to hear that you're proud of yourselves, because I think everyone in this room is also proud of you for creating a helpful and welcoming environment in your school. So we look forward to great things from you coming up. So thank you again for coming and sharing. And thank you very much for helping your fellow students. So.
Are there any questions from the board at all? Any questions for the kids or Mrs. Rosenwald? I can tell you from personal experience, you can't miss them, because you walk into the building and instantly you're like, who are these kids? Like, what is going on? It's just so helpful and so kind. And even in the times I've had to sub up in the 4th grade, it's the same thing too, where, oh, we've got to go help kindergarten, or we got to help put coats on for recess. It's just so noticeable, the impact. And I would say even within their leadership, if you get to spend a day or two just in all of the 4th grades, it has bled out across the 4th grade as a whole, because I would say collectively this is one of the strongest, nicest, most compassionate group of kids I've ever had the privilege to work with. And I'm not just saying that because they're here at the board meeting, but it has really made a difference across that 4th grade level and in the school. And so real quick, if there's no questions, we wanted to take a picture of the kids in front of the board, and then we will let them go if they choose.
Walk this way towards her.
We have fancy Lakeville School District.
Some older brothers show up too.
I guess to continue, maybe Chuck, I maybe should have had you go first. This is going to be a tough act to follow. I'd like to introduce Mr. Chuck Olson. He, as you know, was approved at a special board meeting on March 15th to be our next Lake Mills Middle School principal. I'll give a quick introduction that is getting sent out to parents tomorrow. We decided to wait to do it with the regular board recap, but was sent out to staff this weekend. But he is the current principal of Nature Hill Intermediate School in Oconomowoc, where he has served students in grades 5 through 8 for the past 4 years. Prior to this, he has worked as an associate principal in both the intermediate and the high school levels in Oconomowoc, and was also a high school science teacher in Oconomowoc. Prior to his career in education, he served our country as a crew chief in the Air National Guard, where he was deployed to both Iraq and Qatar. So he easily rose to the top of our choices, and we couldn't be more excited to start working with Chuck as well. And disclaimer, I am not related. I know we have the same last names. Olson is a common name, but I got asked that by a couple of the staff members. So Chuck, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks. Yeah, I was going to say, I have a bone to pick after following those guys. That's like an impossible act to follow. No, I'm just teasing. But I wanted to just say I'm super excited to be here in Lake Mills. I live in town. I have for the past 11 years. I have 3 kids. Lars, my oldest, will start the same. Well, I'll start a little before him. But our first day of school at the middle school will be together as starting new to the middle school. So I'm really excited to be here. It's such an awesome opportunity. I'm excited to work in a place that's so well supported by its community and by the board. So I wanted to introduce myself and ask if you guys had any questions for me.
Well, welcome, Mr. Olson, and we look forward to working with you.
I can't wait. Thanks so much. Thanks, Tanya. I appreciate it.
Yes, thank you for coming here tonight.
Thank you.
Okay, and finally, just a quick staffing update. We are well into the hiring process. I know interviews were also being conducted tonight to fill a couple of the open positions, either due to retirements or resignations. We are moving along on target with those, so we feel pretty confident that we have had good candidates and a strong selection going along with that. I think one thing I know we'll need to work on in a committee format is still looking at class sizes in regards to some of the staffing decisions as it relates to the budget. As you know, we're not expecting any new money again next year, so we expect budgets to be still very, very tight going into the next year. So I will continue to update as we move along through this process. So that's all I have for that.
Any questions for Dr. Olson? Okay, Ms. Naylor, Director of Business Services.
Hello, just making sure this is on. I'd like to first introduce Mr. Harvey Simden. He is our maintenance director. He is going to present a project that is coming up and give you the details of it. There's some attachments in the board docs that have some of the information that he's going over. But Harv, if you'd like to come on up and take it away.
This won't be exciting, sorry. Since I've been here, the focus has always been the high school. Aging equipment, older building. This year I'm going to pick on the unit that serves the new food lab and the new egg room. 26-year-old condenser, 24-year-old air handler, they're about shot. We can put money in it and keep them going, but with ESSER availability, I guess it's time to maybe get these taken care of. I do have some bids, some numbers written down. I think you guys all have those in front of you. We picked low bid. I was kind of surprised at the difference in bids, being it was the same unit coming from the same contractor, the same company, the same builder, basically. Mechanical, who is low, has done a lot of work for us. Replacement service work, I'm very confident with his abilities to do this. So I guess I'm looking for a recommendation or approval to move forward on this project. And if you have any questions, I can answer them. Hopefully.
I have a question. So on the one, what's it called, Technique Mechanical, I noticed that the withstanding amount of days that they had in there, would they still honor that amount that they've given us, even
Yes.
though we've passed that? Okay.
Yep, I asked him last week, I was gonna go past your 30 days, and he said that's fine.
Okay.
Yep.
And just a side note here too, in conversations with Harv, we do have this later on in the consent agenda to move forward. It sounds like the lead time for some of these materials are, I think Harv, you had said 16 to 20 weeks potentially.
Everybody's getting back to work, the downslide or downhill slide of COVID. I think we're looking at 12 to 14 weeks.
Okay.
So we'd be in pretty good shape mid-June, end of June.
Okay.
So we'd be okay.
And this item will be on the agenda, on the for action later.
It is.
Correct.
So we kind of outlined in the notes here too, a few of the other miscellaneous costs that are associated with the project. That being, the full HVAC replacement at 62,000, the controls piece of it that we're looking at automated logic for. And Harv, maybe you can speak to this a little bit more. It is over that 10,000, and it's my understanding that automated logic is the only vendor in the area that performs this type of work, hence the reason for not having additional competitive bids for that. And maybe do you have anything to add to that piece, Harv?
Yeah, once you get a contractor such as Automated Logic in your building, all your automation is theirs. And nobody else can put their automation in except them. It's a lot like John's Controls, which I'm sure you guys are well aware of. We're in a district for a long time. High school has slowly switched over starting in 14 after the elementary school build to Automated Logic. Better controls, better scheduling, more efficient, easier to work with. So little by little, they've taken over the whole high school. And they do have it now. It doesn't pay to bring anybody else in for this one little chunk. You're gonna wind up paying them double to put something different in than what they're gonna do for 13,000. So it's almost like taking your BMW to BMW dealer. The only ones that work on it is BMW. It's kind of the same philosophy with the controls. If that makes any sense.
So with that, along with the electrical work, the additional roofing and patching, mechanical insulation, reinforcing steel structure, all listed out here. There's some interior repairs that are going to need to be done due to the demolition of the current unit. The total project cost would be not to exceed $88,720. And that, as we had discussed, would be funded with the Sr3 dollars.
Does this take any, is this on a future agenda or a future task on a facilities improvement in a future year, and that would save money down the road?
It certainly is something, and maybe you can speak to this, Harv, too, that would have to be done in the future. So we can relook at our long-term plan and kind of make some adjustments for what we've got going forward for that long-range plan. And that would come through in a facility committee meeting, so yes.
We had a failure with this outside unit that sits between the tech ed wing and the soccer field. And it's gonna need some immediate work to be able to work this summer. It's also in the way of the paving, which is gonna be heading back to the new greenhouse. So we'd rather just get rid of this unit altogether, get one unit instead of two, more efficiency, less electricity, more dependability. So it's a win-win every way you look at it. Instead of kicking it down the curb for another year, we should do it this year.
Okay. Any other questions that you might have on this project? Harv, you had mentioned that this is a very similar project. Maybe you want to talk.
Yep, we did the same thing to the science and math wing in 2019. We took mismatched equipment that came to the high school used, like this stuff had to have been brought to us used, and made it into one piece of equipment. And I've seen the bills I've looked at, summer to summer, We saved about $1,500 back there just by switching to one unit versus two. So I expect the same results from this one as well. That was through the cooling season. The heating season, it's kind of hard to compare because there's no compressors running. But one summer it was $1,500 cheaper from 2020 to 2021.
Any questions with anything? It's crickets right now. No?
I think it's always a good situation to be proactive in these replacements instead of waiting for something to break down and then we have an emergency situation which causes you more money to come in and fix. So this, with the assessor money, was a great opportunity, like Amy stated, to be a little proactive also on the budget side of things so that we're not taking this out of the general fund if it were to break down, which we know eventually will happen.
Okay. If there's no other questions, then thank you, Harv, for coming and presenting and answering the questions and giving the details for the board. The next thing that I would like to talk about is just to give a summary of our Sr3 survey that was put out to the community. As you know, that we had sought out some feedback from the community. The district survey was open from March 3rd through March 28th, and it resulted in exactly 78 responses. So the stakeholders were provided with a presentation that gave the details of our suggested plan, along with the allowable expenditures under the grant. And the 4 questions that were asked in that were, what other needs or COVID-19 impacts have you seen that we have not mentioned? Are the priorities that we have identified the ones that will have the most impact on our students with the greatest needs? If not, what would? What community assets, individuals, programs, businesses, et cetera, might we engage to make our plan more effective, and how can families be involved? And then finally, what other ideas do you have about using this funding? So in summary of kind of those 78 responses, one of the biggest, as comes as no surprise, is the prioritizing of mental health. So that was a common theme through a lot of the suggestions. So as you know, that also is a big part of our plan. So through the counseling and through the different positions and the extra support there. So that was a positive result from that. There were also some suggestions regarding math intervention in addition to the reading intervention. So that has been a topic in the conversations that we've had with the administration as well, knowing that that's an area that we want to look at. So also a theme among our stakeholders. The other common theme that I noticed was that there was a lot of interest in the continuation of the SSO, the Seamless Summer Option Food Child Nutrition Program, so that free meals for all students. So I haven't gotten anything formal, no proclamations or anything in regards to what might happen next year for the 22-23 school year. A lot of the,
they're not continuing.
Yeah, I was just going to say a lot of the districts are finding or a lot of states are not doing it, and then districts are seeing that they're probably not going to be continuing that program. So we'll be putting out some communication to families soon as something's official. I don't think anything's official, but there hasn't been any action on it. And at this time last year, we were already being announced that it would be continued. So we're not hopeful that that will continue. And then the other common theme was in regards to additional support for our nursing services, which is something that we are addressing, not ESSER funding related, however, is something that we know that our nursing services, our nurse was overworked, I guess. She had a lot going on and her hours were used up quite early, so we will be adding to that. So Sr3 allocations have been posted on the DPI website. They include that 90% of the formula funding, so that part is final. That's our just under $715,000. And the funds from the 10% set aside are still pending approval of a revised plan by Joint Finance Committee and the U.S. Department of Ed. Any questions for me?
Tanya, what is the total of the Sr3?
Sr3 right now is at 714,691, I believe exactly. There's still a 10%, as I said, that we're still waiting on a revised plan from Joint Finance, that there could be additional, but that's that final number that we have at this point.
And you mentioned the nursing. With the COVID situation kind of quieted down, is there still that extra need?
I think so. Maybe, Tanya, you want to?
Yeah, in your board packet, you'll see a comparison with all of the other school districts as far as FTE in relation to number of students. So, I mean, we were well in the works with this in January. It's just that they're, nurses overall are just in short supply. So we were moving forward with that. And then, I mean, right now, I would say yes, for one school nurse at only 30 hours a week, we probably are short-staffed, so bringing on a second one at 30 hours a week, I think will help her attend to just the basic needs. I think even without COVID, we were a little on the short side of things, so getting back to doing some of the vision screenings and then, taking care of our diabetic students. And, we've also had some other students with special needs that have had to have some tube feeding and things like that. So I think there's things that go on with our students that people don't realize, and they think of the school nurses maybe administering medication or helping when kids are sick, but there are other IEP-driven needs that go along with the school nurse as well. So, and if we do end up passing a referendum in November and moving forward, bringing another school online to have one nurse traveling among 4 buildings, it's kind of unheard of. So I think traveling among 3 buildings is even quite a bit. So there's a lot of things that have been left undone in the last 2 years for student health plans that need to be addressed.
Do I understand that these expenditures will be integrated with next year's budget?
Yes.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions for Ms. Naylor? Okay, moving on to the next item on the agenda, which is community input. We have one person who has signed up to speak. Ms. Wiedenfeld, if you can just identify yourself when you get to the podium and give us your address, and we're ready to roll.
Okay, so I don't have my address memorized by now. I'm just kidding. Sheena Wiedenfeld, N6414 Olean Road, Lake Mills. Nothing real formal. I just wanted to kind of piggyback off some ESSER suggestions. When I was reading through, I saw a big chunk of it being used for mental health providers, which is great, but concerned about if it's temporary or if you're going to be able to hang on to those for a long period of time because it's based off of a temporary budget or temporary money. So wondering if consideration for a formal process or assessment of students to be able to get in on using these services as quickly as possible to help address some of the learning loss, emotional needs of students. I think when it comes to mental health, the process is important. I obviously know that that's important to me, but you need certain steps that lead to solutions or treatments or applications. So I want to make suggestions, and I know you guys can't reply, about assessing students ahead of time, getting an understanding of what the needs or gaps are, potentially communicating with parents, whether it's through like a handbook or pamphlet about mental health needs and issues or topics, what those professionals do, what they don't do, what are some of the behaviors that teachers or these professionals are looking for so that parents can be mindful of them too and maybe suggest or advocate that their child get these services from these professionals. Understanding that there's a difference between the school and the clinical aspect of counselors and psychologists, and understanding the limitations of what they're assessing so that that's really clear for parents. Likewise, if there is a clinical like network or that for referrals and stuff, that's listed or as an option. I just think it'd be a nice opportunity to give parents some information on mental health services with the school and the limitations, more or less. And when you were talking about the food thing, came to me real quick, and I've thought about this before, and I don't know how likely this is, but back when the kids had field trips and stuff, as parents, we had the opportunity to round up or pay extra for kids that struggled with economic struggles so that they could participate. Is there an option for with the food program for parents to be able to select a roundup, then the next whole dollar option, and then that additional funding from the community and parents could put aside somehow to help kids that need help with lunch or food programs? It's just a thought. Okay. Thanks.
We do have several parents that do donate, or when they leave in high school and they have a sum of money still in their food account, Roseanne typically will say, do you want to donate that for students in need, or do you want a refund? And so we do have several of those mechanisms in place.
Okay, we can move on to the action items. And we have the consent agenda, which includes the approval of February 14th regular Board of Education meeting, the February 28th Finance and Personnel Committee proceedings, the March 11th, 2022 Special Board of Education meeting minutes, and the approval of the March 15th Special Board of Education meeting minutes, the approval of the Treasurer's report, vouchers and invoices, the personnel report, College Start Now courses, which used to be called Youth Options. And so I would ask if there's any particular one of these items that board members would wish to discuss separately.
I move the board approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second the motion.
Moved and seconded. Discussion or questions on the motion? Hearing none, I would ask for a roll call vote, please.
Brianna Beslick.
Aye.
Dawn Delaney.
Aye.
Ken Imers.
Aye.
Amy Litcher.
Aye.
Robert D'Imperio.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Next item will be the approval of the district administrator's contract. The contract was updated as discussed during a school board closed session. Specific language was developed by our legal counsel, and so I'd entertain a motion for approval of that contract.
I'll move the board approve the district administrator contract as presented.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion on the motion. Hearing none, I would ask for a roll call vote, please.
Dawn Delaney.
Aye.
Ken Imers.
Aye.
Amy Litcher.
Aye.
Brianna Beslick.
Aye.
Robert D'Imperio.
Aye. Motion carries. Next item is the approval of Fort Healthcare contract for nursing services. I'm assuming that this is a continuation of an existing contract. I mean, this is the same services that Ms. Zastro's been.
Right, with the addition of the other school nurse.
So a motion for approval of the contract.
I move the board approve the contract with Fort Healthcare for nursing services.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Questions or comments, please?
Does all of this have to be, I mean, if the contract's approved, can we split like these ESSER funds and the regular funds, how to pay for, I mean, the portion that's coming out of the ESSER amounts for the extra nursing service?
So I mean, with, right now, we're not taking the nursing services out of the ESSER budget.
Okay.
But, you know, a budget is always subject to revision, whether it's an ESSER budget or a regular budget. So right now, we're taking this out of the regular budget.
Okay.
Other questions or discussion? Hearing none, I'd ask for a roll call vote on the motion, please.
Ken Imers,
Aye.
Amy Litcher,
Aye.
Brianna Beslick,
Aye.
Dawn Delaney,
Aye.
Robert Timperio.
Aye, motion carries. Next, we have a approval for a trip to Washington DC for the 8th grade students in June of 2022. I think this is a trip that has been
Been an
accomplished in
annual.
the past.
And Jim is here also in case you had any questions about any of the itinerary. Probably fresh from softball game, huh, Jim? Didn't you have a softball game tonight?
From there to here.
How many students are signed up this year?
So, Jim, if you want to come over to the podium.
So we have, so currently I believe we're at 42 kids right now. And it's pretty standard. Every year we have approximately between 40 and 50. Last year was a little bit smaller than normal. That was our first year back. And a lot of Washington DC was still closed down but it's still a great group. It's a great trip. Yeah, and this will be the eighth year that we've done it. So it's an excellent trip. I'm happy to answer any questions. You know, the travel, the safety has been excellent. The company that we work with is they have every detail covered. So they've been just really good to work with, and I hear that from the families as well that work with them, because we really don't manage the financial end of things. That's an independent contract or an individual contract between the families and World Strides. That's the company that we travel with, and they've been just first rate.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Cliff, for doing this for all these years. I think it's really beneficial for our students to visit the Capitol and see democracy in action.
Yeah, it really is. It really is worthwhile. I did it my first year as just kind of an experiment. I knew the district hadn't done it before, and I'm like, kids need this opportunity. So that's why it has continued since. So it's a very, very good trip. So thank you for supporting it.
Do you actually get through all of these?
That is, yep. They our tour guides and bus drivers. Yeah, everything that's on that agenda, we do all of it. We log roughly about an average of 24 to 26 miles of walking in 3 days out there. So my blistered feet can prove it. And so yeah, we get it really good. All of the memorials. We didn't get to go into Smithsonian last year, but again, they had very, very tight regulations on how many people could go in at a time and things like that. But that will be back on the agenda this year. So it's excellent. We talked to our representative a couple times when we were out there. We were scheduled to go into the White House a couple years ago. No, it would have been 3 years ago. And then something came up and they had canceled, but they told us that things happen at a very quick notice. So yeah, everything that's on that agenda is it's all legit.
Okay, well, thank you. Could we have a motion for approval of the trip, please?
Sure, I'll move the board approve the Washington DC trip for the 8th grade students from June 9th to the 12th, 2022, as presented. It is understood that the board will incur no cost and will accept no liability for any funds lost for any reason.
Second?
Moved and seconded. Discussion or questions on the motion? Hearing none, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Amy Litcher.
Aye.
Brianna Beslick.
Aye.
Dawn Delaney.
Aye.
Ken Imers.
Aye.
Robert Timperio.
Aye. Motion carries. Mr. Cliff, thanks again.
Thank you.
Next item is approval of the agent of record for employee benefits. I believe that you discussed this at the Finance and Personnel Committee meeting.
Right. Al Yeager from USI did a lengthy presentation. We'll be, when we send out information to the staff tomorrow, we'll remind them this is not a change of benefits, so we are not changing, we're not going away from Dean or Delta, but I think that USI will be able to offer us more services and guidance as we move forward, especially in the area of employee wellness. So we're looking forward to this transition.
And in this particular position, this individual or firm works on our behalf for the various insurance coverages that we have and helping figuring out which are the better coverages and the ins and outs. Is that correct?
Correct, and at no cost to the district.
Right. That was the important part, I thought. So I'd entertain a motion.
I move the board approve USI Insurance Services LLC for agenda of record for employee benefits.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any other comments or questions? So I'd like a roll call vote, please.
Brianna Beslick.
Aye.
Don Delaney.
Aye.
Ken Imers.
Aye.
Amy Litcher.
Aye.
Robert D'Imperio.
Aye. Motion carries. The next item is the approval of the projects for the heating, ventilating, and air conditioning system. As described by presentation during Ms. Naylor's discussion. So I'd entertain a motion for that approval.
I'll move the board approve the bid from Technique Mechanical in the amount of $62,000 for HVAC replacement and the bid from Automated Logic in the amount of $13,100 for HVAC controls for the high school.
Second.
Moved and seconded. A discussion or questions? I understand that this replaces equipment that is old and ready to fail, if not already failed. There will also be an improvement in reliability and ventilation in that portion of the building. So, any other comments? A roll call vote, please.
Don Delaney.
Aye.
Ken Imers.
Aye.
Amy Litcher.
Aye.
Brianna Beslick.
Aye.
Robert D'Imperio.
Aye, motion carries. Next is to act on a waiver of liquidated damages for an employee. And administration is recommending this waiver.
Correct.
So I'd entertain a motion.
I move the board approve a waiver of liquidated damages as presented.
I'll second the motion.
Moved and seconded. Are there questions or discussion on the motion? Hearing none, may we please have a roll call vote?
Ken Imers.
Aye.
Amy Litcher.
Aye.
Brianna Beslick.
Aye.
Don Delaney.
Aye.
Robert D'Imperio.
Aye, motion carries. Okay, we have, the next item is approval of a school funding advocacy letter. We are basically, by sending this letter, we are advocating for additional funding for schools. Am I correct? And this letter is, or letters like it, are being submitted by districts throughout the state. So, entertain a motion to approve sending said letter.
I move the board support the school funding advocacy letter.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions, comments?
So this is just one letter going from the district?
I would add that on Thursday, I'm actually meeting with Barb Dietrich as well as a follow-up to talk about several educational items as well. So I think, advocating with your local legislators is always important, and to be able to tell your local story and how it applies to our district is even more important. So that's the intention of that meeting.
Okay. Any questions further? I think we have a motion on the floor, and I'd like a roll call vote, please.
Amy Litcher.
Aye.
Brianna Beslick.
Aye.
Dawn Delaney.
Aye.
Ken Imers.
Aye.
Robert Timperio.
Aye, motion carries. Now, we've had a number of gifts to the district from members of the community, and again, we're always very grateful for the support that we receive. So entertain a motion for accepting the gifts.
I move the board accept the following gifts and thank the generous donors for the continued support of the students and programs of the Lake Mills Area School District. $195 from the Tyranina Ladies Club and $200 from the Lake Mills Moravian Church donated for supplies to the mill at the Lake Mills High School. $400 from Culvers of Lake Mills from Scoopy Night fundraiser to the Lake Mills High School's FFA, and an augmentative and alternative communication AAC device from Anthony and Lauren Sullivan valued at $7,495 for the district's speech department.
Second.
Moved and seconded. And I'd like a roll call vote on the motion, please.
Brianna Beslick.
Aye.
Dawn Delaney.
Aye.
Ken Imers.
Aye.
Amy Litcher.
Aye.
Robert Timperio.
Aye, motion carries. Brief discussion on future agenda items.
Right,
What-
just kind of some of the annual things that come up. Our CISA2 annual contract will be on the board for approval. By then, we'll have an election update because we'll be past the election. I was going to give a strategic planning update at this meeting, but I decided to wait till the next meeting. We're still working through some things. Our 4K site agreement with the Methodist Church, and then our students that are leaving for Nashville this week, our music students, will come back to the next board meeting to give a presentation on how that went in Nashville, so looking forward to that. And unfortunately, we'll be recognizing Dawn and Bob, who will be leaving us. There will be cake involved at this meeting, but I will be sad to go, and it'll be hard to have a last meeting with the two of you next month. So.
Okay, on that cheerful note.
I've been called a Debbie Downer
Motion
since about
for
7:30 this morning.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Thank you very much.
Thank you.